Everyone has a fate. It's my fate to tell you about this. Stick around. Hi, folks. Old Man Grognard here, and today we are going to talk about Evil Hat Productions' Fate. Fate is a system. It's pretty much a universal system, a la, I don't know, GURPS or Savage Worlds, yet is unlike them. I really had to dig deep for this one. I mean, here's my normal note card that I use for notes for these episodes. We're going to need a bigger card. I really had to drill down because it really challenged my way of thinking, just like Tunnels and Trolls did as far as role-playing games go. Actually, I'm talking about two games in one because there is also, this is the Fate core system, there's also Fate Accelerated, which is kind of a cut-down version of Fate, the core system. And Fate is, actually, it was derived out of another game called Fudge, which was published 10 years ago? Wow, has it been that long? Evil Hat Productions puts out Fate, and the original game, these were both released in 2013. The core rules were, the authors were Leonard Balsera, Brian Engard, Jeremy Keller, Ryan Macklin, and Mike Olson. Fate Accelerated, abbreviated FAE, is by Clark Valentine, Amanda Valentine, Leonard Balsera, Fred Hicks, and Mike Olson. Now, the core rules are about 310 pages. Fate Accelerated is about 50 pages. They do a real good job for what they do. It's just that you got to do things a bit differently than a normal role-playing game. It really takes a more, it's a more participatory thing as far as the players go. I have not played it, but I like what I see in the books, if for nothing else than ideas and world building. Now, here's what it looks like. It's a digest-sized book, and what they use is they don't use. No, in fact, here's the book. Here we go. This is what you get when you buy it, right here. It's a nice little digest hardback book, and Fate Accelerated is about 50 pages. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's about 50 pages. You don't use normal dice, or if you do use normal dice, you count them a different way. You're using essentially D6s. And what you're doing is you're either using D6s and counting them a certain way, or they're using what they call fate dice or fudge dice. And this is what they look like. They're a D6 with two sides that have a plus on them, two sides that have a minus on them, and two sides that are blank. That's supposed to mean what you... I'll explain it. These are the kind of games that kind of get me tongue-tied a bit because there is just so much going on in my head about it. It's a simple game. Believe it or not, once you get down to it, it's simple, but it just takes a different kind of thinking. Now, here it talks about skills. It's a mostly skill-based game. In fact, it's skill-based to the point where you don't have stats because what you have are aspects, and I'll get into that in a minute. This is what they call the ladder. Now, this goes from, I think mediocre is the midpoint, which is a +0. It gives you pluses or minuses, depending on what the task is you want to do. And that's where the dice come in. You roll 4 dice at a time on these, and if you'll notice, you'll roll pluses or minuses. So, if you have a skill, or you want to do something, and the GM sets up how hard it is. This is just basically for like doing ordinary stuff like climbing walls or something like that. I haven't got into combat yet. But what you do is roll 4 dice, and you get either plus, minus, or nothing. And you add plus or minus to that to your skill roll. and you've got to roll over the number, the target number. Now, in combat, of course, the target number is the other person's skill. Now, if you have a fight skill or whatever, that's covered in there too. Fight skill versus fight skill, or fight skill versus dodge skill, or things like that. Like I said, you do not have stats in this game, which once again, it makes you got to think about it for a while. They approach it a bit differently from the core to the accelerated, but I don't want to get into that. I want to stick with the common stuff first. You have stunts you can do that are basically, oh, I want to try this and use this skill. The aspects, you invoke an aspect if you want to use it, and that usually costs a fate point. Fate points, that's something else everybody has. If anybody's familiar with like Savage Worlds, the same thing as bennies. You can use those to influence a die roll. If you want to do a stunt or invoke an aspect or something like that that your character has, that's kind of a, aspects are like character personality things that would help you or hinder you in certain cases, because you know you can have what they call trouble things that are part of your background that can hurt you too. I'm going to try and take a like big overview of this, because you really got to see the game, and you know you got to read the book and see the game in action. I hate to be kind of vague like this, but it's just one of them games, you know. It's kind of like the Margaret Weiss games as far as I'm concerned. I used to have Margaret Weiss's Marvel game before they went out of print, and I read it. I had a hard time making heads or tails of it. But from what I understand, when people play it, they said it plays great. It's real easy, but you got to play it. It doesn't look too good on the page, but you play it. But these books, you know, gave me enough that I can understand what was going on. I just don't know if I can convey that to you. I had the same trouble with Deluxe Tunnels and Trolls, so you know, I'm trying not to botch this. What you have are, I think, 18 or so skills, and I think that's a sample set. You can make other ones up. You get them at a rating, like on the ladder here. They kind of do either adjectives or numbers, pluses or minuses. I'd rather go by the number. And, you know, you have, say, boating at a +2. So you can add that to if you need to make a boating roll. Fighting is going against, like I said, going against the other person's skill, and whoever's the highest wins. And as far as if you're, okay, let's go this way. Damage. Damage is caused by stress. Stress causes damage. Actually, weapons cause damage. But if you look at the ranks here on the ladder, that's the damage depends on how many ranks you got above the other person, that's how much damage you do. And of course, they wear armor, and that'll take it off. But stress, you can take stress points. If you take some stress, that means you're temporarily damaged. There's consequences, which is long-term damage, which will help you, you know, get back in the fight for a while at a cost. And you can be taken out. If you just don't have anything else, you're taken out. So it's a very abstract kind of a damage thing. Everyone concept when they first get created. Here it talks about fate points. Here are the skill chart. And it's fascinating to read. Kind of hard to understand, but I already went over this. The differences, core and accelerated. Accelerated is, the objective is to, you know, let's play. You know, kind of like Savage Worlds, Fast Furious. They're all, core is a little more chunky, a little more granular, chunky. They have the skills and stuff like that. Core focuses on what you do, and accelerated focuses on how you do it, which means you can define your own skills in accelerated, but instead of coming down to, oh, I have rope tying at +2, depends on how you want to approach it. They have six approaches. careful, clever, flashy, forceful, quick, and sneaky. And what you do is you assign your pluses and minuses to that instead of the skills. So if you want to try something that falls in your, say your highest score is +3 at forceful, and you want to try and bash a door open, and that would fall into your wheelhouse of forceful, and so you get to add the pluses to that. But if you're trying to do something like, talk to some dignitary and get something out of them, and you're like, careful is +0, you're gonna have a hard time if you're trying to be careful. So it's a little bit more freewheeling in accelerated. You also only have you have 2 wound tracks, what they call wound tracks, which is how you keep track of your stress. In core, which is mental and physical, accelerated only has 1. And there's also things like extras. This handles like stuff that's beyond, still part of the character, like superpowers or magic or gadgets or a fancy car or a special gun or all those other aspects, all those other things about the character that they own, that they control. Now, I really like I said, I've never played this game, but I really like the concept behind it. I don't know if I'd play this on a regular basis because it's just a little too much, back and forth. And I mean, I like the way they can, force aspects. You also have like certain drawbacks that you can take. If you have I don't know, you have some trouble or something that's negative, and the GM says, well, this kind of goes up against your weakness or whatever, and if you go ahead and play it, like, the GM will give you a fate point. Fate points, everybody starts with 3 unless you take more, I believe, aspects. Then they go down by 1 per more aspects up to, I think the minimum was 1. But you get more than 3 in the game. You also have a refresh rate, which means after every scenario, conflict or whatever, your fate points set back to whatever it was, 3, 2, 1, whatever. You may end up with more, like Savage Worlds. You may end up with more bennies than that. And I think that's encouraged, just like Savage Worlds, because you want to keep it fun with the drama and the action going, which is, I like. I this game at least once. I do have the Fate system toolkit, which is supposed to explain more things about worlds and other finer points of the game. Shows you how to do magic, superpowers, other things like that. There's also settings turned out for it. I got this one. This is the Fate Freeport Companion. They have converted this to Fate. I'm going to read through it and see if it's any good, because when I got it, it's like, oh, they don't have a Savage Worlds version. Oh well, I'll get this. But it looks really interesting, and it's got like NPCs and other things like that. So I'll try and keep you posted on that one. Anyway, this is Evil Hat Productions, and I hope I haven't discouraged you from getting this game. I'm really curious how it plays. You can get it at the Evil Hat website, or on DriveThru RPG or RPG Now. The Evil Hat store is interesting because you can get both core and accelerated on PDF for pay what you want. Their idea is download it. If you like what you see, pay us. And if you do pay us, the PDF for core is $5, and for accelerated is $2.50. And if you want the book plus PDF, the book is $25. The accelerated is $5. And I bought these at my friendly game store for exactly those prices. So there's Fate Core, Fate Accelerated. I've heard a lot of people like Accelerated more than Core because it moves fast and they don't have to. I think it's a great for one. I think it would be great for one shots in convention games because Accelerated, you just go to town. You just do it. You don't worry about what skills you have. You do have aspects like the other game, which gives you kind of a definition of what your character is all about, which will suggest things that you can do like skills. They even have on their website a free PDF, Fate Accelerated to Core Conversion Guide and vice versa. I just printed this out and stapled it. But this is free on their website. And they have the usual, downloads for character sheets and other things like that in some worlds. So that's Fate. And now it's my fate to ask you to tell me about it, write me about it, at oldmangrognard@gmail.com. I know this sounds kind of confusing, but there it is. So, good luck, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.